Pregnancy is a hardcore sci-fi epic of war, peace and compromise. Babies are basically very cute tumors that grow a completely new organ inside a different human. Their mom's body graciously allows this, while the new life saps her resources and challenges her immune system to its limits for months. Biology is brutal and beautiful and metal. Let us zoom in and observe this brutal struggle for survival, that in the best case ends in one of the most magical things, a new life. Our story begins with an army of tens of millions of sperm cells that immediately face death. They are on a tight timer before they run out of energy and die. But this is the least of their problems right now. Like all bodily openings, the female reproductive tract is a fortress defending against invaders. The future mom's body has set up deadly barriers and puts the sperm through a brutal process that kills almost all of them and ideally selects the strongest and fittest one. The first deadly obstacle is a highly acidic environment guarded by hundreds of thousands of guard cells. The acidity kills millions, especially of the weaker sperm within the first half hour, although they have a bit of protection. Seminal fluid is alkaline and so it makes this first obstacle a little less deadly. The survivors reach the next obstacle, a treacherous maze full of protein nets where millions more find a brutal end getting stuck and lost. Now if a woman is in the part of her menstrual cycle where she is ovulating, her body helps the sperm out a bit, by releasing chemicals that guide the way and by being a bit less hostile. Luckily for our brave sperm this is the case today. Only a couple hundred, less than 0.0001% of the original sperm, pass through into the uterine cavity, where two tunnels branch out. Here mucus helps transport the stronger sperm to move on, while weeding out the weaker ones. The mom's immune cells pick off and devour every cell that trails behind or takes the wrong turn. And then finally, maybe just a few dozen sperm reach their goal, the mighty, giant egg. 10,000 times bigger than them, it is an industrial-scale monster loaded with nutrients and nearly 100,000 mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell 50 times more than an average cell. But the egg is not easily conquered. The survivors get closer and try to get in until the egg decides to accept a single one of them. The genes of two individuals merge. The egg stops being part of its mother. It is something else now. A new being with its own agenda. Not a human yet, but the potential to become one. Like a thought that is not yet a word. But its mom's body hasn't decided yet if she wants to say it out loud. It will have to fight for that. For a few days it rapidly divides and grows to a couple of hundred cells, while traveling down to the uterus, the part of the female reproductive system where it will try to make its new home. Here it begins to divide into two specialized teams of cells. One will eventually become the baby. The other cells are trophoblasts and their job is to turn into a temporary organ inside the mother, the placenta, that will make pregnancy possible and eventually die. This means that when you were an embryo there was this whole other part of you, not like a twin, even closer, maybe like a guardian angel clone. These cells never had the chance to become a human, their only purpose in life was to make you exist. In any case, the following days are the most dangerous for the potential new life. Like a tennis ball rolling through syrup, the young embryo moves along the uterus and tries to take a hold. An intense chemical dialogue between two living things begins. The embryo releases dozens of chemicals that announce its presence and asks the guard cells of the uterine wall to allow it to please attach itself so it can survive. The uterus responds with dozens of hormones and immune signals itself. If it is satisfied with the quality of the chemical conversation its cells allow it. If it doesn't, the embryo will be lost and die. This is where we begin to see that the interests of both living beings no longer completely align anymore. Pregnancy is a huge energy investment, so the mother's body will eject the embryo if it doesn't see it as viable. The embryo on the other hand faces a life and death situation and tries to stay alive at any price. So it's not asking politely but deploying thousands of infiltration units, bubbles filled with genetic material, kind of like a human virus. They sort of invade the uterine cells and try to brainwash them, so they help it attach itself, rather than rejecting it. During this time one of the weirdest features of pregnancy occurs. The uterus provides uterine milk, not real milk but a clear fluid filled with nutrients and hormones that the young embryo sucks up hungrily to gain additional energy until it gets inside. If the embryo is allowed in, the implantation was successful, the first critical hurdle. The next step is to reach the blood vessels of its mother, the only way to survive if it doesn't want to starve. The trophoblasts begin to clone themselves on a massive scale and turn into different specialists. One of them turns into a violent invader that starts drilling into the uterine tissue like a tiny parasitic octopus with many arms, spreading and growing. This is a brutal process, ordering loads of its mom's uterus cells to destroy themselves, killing others directly or even devouring some cells whole. While this sounds brutal, and it is, this process is highly regulated and doesn't hurt the mom. It is another test. The mom's body monitors carefully how the embryo is doing. Is it growing quickly or if it is more chill? If an embryo has genetic damage or chromosomal abnormalities, it will spend way more energy on repairing itself and maybe grow more erratically. This makes it metabolically noisy, releasing loads of chemicals the mom's immune cells pick up, which provokes them and makes it more likely that they will destroy it. On the other hand, if the embryo is weak, it is metabolically too quiet and the mom will stop talking to it, which also ends the pregnancy. This embryo is just right, so the mom's cells release a flood of different chemicals to help it out, support it growing and most importantly, activate her immune system. Usually this would be very bad. The immune system kills everything that is not part of the mom's body, and this embryo is clearly not part of her. But the immune cells of the uterus surround the embryo and start helping it, guiding the trophoblast to grow further. They create a physical and chemical safe zone that tells dangerous immune cells like T cells to stay away. The embryo has its own motives and doesn't want to rely on its mother's goodwill alone, so defensive trophoblasts send out signals that kill her immune cells if they get too close and could start attacking it. Hundreds of cells go even further and leave the embryo behind. They spread all across the mom's body, entering organs, even the brain. We don't know what all of these cells are doing, but we think that they are probably telling her immune system that the embryo is not to be attacked, that it should be left alone or even protected. These cells may stay inside the mother for years or even decades. It is likely that parts of you are still in your mother. Around 8 weeks after the egg was fertilized, the transition from the embryo to fetus begins the size of an olive, its organs begin to form and it turns from a blob into something vaguely human-like. Is there a clear point where a clump of cells becomes a human? Not really. It is a fluid transition and every society and person, be it morally or legally, marks this moment differently. Meanwhile, construction trophoblasts are busy building a spongy finger-like structure that expands further into the uterus, a completely new organ. The placenta, an organ that you once grew inside your mother, that was ejected after your birth and died a silent death while everybody was busy welcoming you into the world. In our story, the placenta is now the new home of the fetus. An enormous fortress, protecting it from microbes that could infect and kill it in its still pretty fragile state. It even has its own mini immune system, placental immune cells that gobble up anything that poses a threat. Other placental cells creep along the inside of the mom's blood vessels, stretching them and connecting the fetus through the umbilical cord on the other side. With the blood flow secured, it's time to load it with as much food as possible. The placenta releases hormones that funnel glucose directly to the fetus, stealing energy from its mom. If the fetus goes too far and asks too much, this can sometimes lead to gestational diabetes for the mom during the pregnancy, starving her body of energy. The mother's body is trying to support the new life, but not at the cost of her own survival. In a sense, the mother's genes inside the fetus still have a stronger allegiance to her than to the new being, but its father's genes don't. They want the fetus to survive at all costs. So while there is a sort of fragile peace between both parties, it is just that their interests are not perfectly aligned and both sides have to deal with that. In the next few months, the fetus will increase its weight over 1 billion times, which demands a staggering amount of energy and cooperation. They still need to work together to get out of this alive. But if the fetus gets to this point in the pregnancy, chances are pretty high that it will become a baby like you once were, a proper human, like you are today. A being with immense potential. If you are alive today, then you went through an amazingly brutal selection process. From a little pack of genes traveling through an incredibly deadly obstacle course, fighting for your survival, with desperate words spoken through chemicals and sneaky actions trying to outsmart the system, fighting to be alive in this world. But this is only one side of the story. You were also chosen, by hormones that led you to the right place, by the egg allowing you to merge into one, by your mom's body that liked how you spoke to her, by her cells that protected and cared for you, nourished by an incredible amount of energy that your mother gifted you. Our biology is a brutal, unforgiving, but necessary part of the greatest wonder there is. The creation of new life, of you, of all of us. Kids fill us with a sense of wonder. It's our job to foster this sense of wonder in them as well. It's our job to protect, power and provide proper nutrition to our kid and also take care of our own health as parents. Supplements to control blood sugar, better digestion and proper mental and heart health are a must in today's busy day and age. For such herbal supplements, visit our today's sponsor Clear at www.clear.in and check out all that you need. Follow their socials like Instagram and YouTube at clear.skincare. Let's join hands in making a beautiful and welcoming environment for the kids where they and their parents are taken care of.